Hello and good evening and welcome to the Cape Mess Amateur Drum Antic Society tasting. Tonight I'm going to do a tasting of Glenburgie. I've got three Glenburgies. I've got the Gordon Macphail uh, Glenburgie 10-year-old at 40% ABV. I've got two Scottish Malt Whisky Societies. I've got Society casking 71.95, 71 being the distillery code of Glenburgie. And this one is titled rather poetically Caribbean style mango habanero hot sauce. It's a Glenburgie 13-year-old at 55.2%. And then we have a slightly older one, Society bottling of 71.82, and it's again rather poetically called Dramming on a Spacehopper. It's a Glenburgie 14-year-old at cask strength 58.8%. So, Glenburgie Distillery has had a series of stops and starts in its production line. William Powell founded the distillery in 1810 under the name of Kinflat Distillery, although production did not officially start until 1829. The distillery closed in 1870 and lay unused until Charles Kay revived it in 1878. This time under the name of Glenburgie. In 1884, Alexander Fraser and Company took over the distillery, controlling the site's operations until the company filed for bankruptcy in 1925, resulting in the distillery lying quiet for another 2 years. The next decade was fraught with mergers, mothballing, and halts in production as the distillery continued to remain inactive as it changed hands. Production eventually restarted in 1936 when Hiram Walker bought the distillery. In 1950, two Lohmann stills were installed, which were used to produce another single malt, Glencraig. The production of the two spirits, although occurring on the same premises, was kept separate. In 1987, Allied Lyons acquired the distillery under its new management. The beginning of the 20th century brought a series of changes to Glenburgie. In 2002, the distillery's first official single malt bottling was released, a 15-year-old. In 2004, a £4.5 million renovation occurred at the site, which involved a complete rebuild of the distillery. Only the pot stills and customs house remain from the original structure. 1 year later, Chivas Brothers, under Pernod Ricard, became the new owners of the distillery under the merger of Allied Domecq. The most recent development in the history of the site was in 2006, when the number of stills was increased from 4 to 6. So, despite a tumultuous last century, Glenburgie has gone on to go from strength to strength. It's very much a part of Ballantine's blended whisky, and the popularity has peaked in recent years, and that's given Glenburgie Distillery a business boost. And it has an impressive production capacity of 4.2 million litres per annum. The water is taken from local springs in the distillery's specific area of Speyside. There are 3 spirit stills and 3 wash stills, forming the heart of Glenburgie's high production capacity. Each of the wash stills has a capacity of 11,750 litres, whilst the spirit stills have a 15,000 litre capacity. Both the wash and spirit stills have a pear shape with a wide spherical lid and gradually narrowing neck, joined by a mid-size intermediate section. And the stills are an important part of Glenburgie's history. The two Roman stills, which were used for batch distillation in the same manner as a pot still, but they contained three perforated plates that could be cooled independently, controlling the reflux through the apparatus. The Roman stills were used in the Glenburgie Single Malt, which has since been discontinued. Around the same time as the Roman stills were installed, the distillery ceased to use its own floor maltings. The maltings used are lightly peated and today are sourced from a nearby industrial site. The site has 3 racked warehouses and uses mostly sherry cask to age its single malt. So, as with some of its other Speyside neighbours such as Glenspey, sourcing official bottlings of the Ben Romach located distillery Glenburgie is a difficult task. The first real official bottling from the distillery, a 15-year-old, was only released in 2002 rather. This 15-year-old remains the only official bottling released by the distillery. There have been a handful of independent bottlings, including a 10-year-old, which we're going to taste tonight, bottled by Gordon Macphail, and a couple of older releases, including a 20 and a 27-year-old, which have mainly been bottled by Signatory Vintage. It's mainly been used, Glenburgie has mainly been used to produce single malt to be used in blends. It's a major component in Ballantine's blended whisky as well as Old Smuggler. The Glencraig, since discontinued, was part of an experiment with these different Roman stills at the distillery. So we're going to start tonight with the 10-year-old Gordon and Macphail, which is probably the most readily available Glenburgie out there. And this one's aged for 10 years, matured in refilled cherry hogsheads and first filled sherry butts. There's some information in the bottle. There's nothing on the bottle about chill filtering or colouring. Being Gordon Macphail, you do wonder if it's probably unlikely to be coloured and unlikely to be chill filtered. This is part of the Gordon Macphail distillery labels. So what we have here then is the sherry cask matured 10-year-old Glenburgie, bottled at the rather low 40%. So it's a sort of light gold colour there. It has some thin tears. It's quite subtle on the nose, quite floral, but you do quickly get some sherry influence. Sherry sultanas and dried fruits. And you also get quite strong tannic oak notes. It's quite full and rich, and there's notes of sherry sultanas and dried mixed peel, that oak and the chewy tannins, and it's slightly phenolic and sulphury, a sort of notes of bitumen, wet tar. It's very pleasant. and there's berry and butterscotch, and I get some of the orange, lemon meringue, and almond marzipan, creamy cherry sweets, and sort of apples, vanilla, some brown sugar. It's quite malty, and some apricot. It's relatively floury and surprisingly even seems almost slightly smoky. We'll try them out. And the palate is is very floral, and a light earthiness there. Slightly salty start, sweet malt, marzipan, uh, ripe apples, peppery, uh, kumquats, and from the initial sweetness, it turns into a sort of strong, spicy mouth. And then the sherry starts to take over, bringing red fruits and berries. And it's sweet with winter berries and mixed fruit and nuts, and a little bit of malt loaf thrown in. Fruity with some lightly peppery spice and caramel. Touch of cherry and sherry and dark chocolate and oak. And the finish is gentle and supple with a little toasted malt loaf, nicely herbal, spicy, with that touch of cherry and fruit. It's a bit grassy, quite delicate, fruity, earthy, medium length, slightly dry, vanilla, and walnut appears briefly. And then it becomes slightly bitter with cocoa, cinnamon, and brown sugar. I'm going to try 5 drops of water in this. So let's see. And now it's overripe fruit, uh, stewed fruit. And then you get some piney forest notes shining through. Purple heather, wet earth, and ferns. And then creamy butter and cooked cauliflower. And then after a few moments, you do get nice hints of coffee. I'll try some. And it becomes quite watery. It becomes quite weak, even with 5 drops of water. It's similar to the nose, but it's got quite a bit of yeast on the palate. Uh, you get some wee spices, but it's mild on the spices and some sulphury notes. That Parma violets, dark honey, and crystal sugar. And the finish is supple, mellow, coconutty, but it's very short and really quite sweet. So, what would I say about this Glenburgie 10-year-old Gordon Macphail, 40% ABV? Well, I have to say, I picked this up at the Gordon Macphail shop about a year or two ago, and it was very affordable wee dram at around £32 a bottle. And whilst Glenburgie may be a rather unknown Speyside dram, I think the quality on this Gordon Macphail bottling, it's got something to offer our world of single malts. It's worth looking out for. It's quite sophisticated, and it's some earthy notes step up from time to time. And the smooth sherry influence is evident. I think it needs time in the bottle and probably in the glass. And it needs some thought as well. Really nice dram. So I'm going to cleanse my palate, this time with a Jacob's cream cracker, or I suspect these are what Americans call graham cracker. So I've got a little tasting journal here, and this one I would describe as floral, dried fruit, fresh fruit, malt, honey, nuts, and a little spice. And I describe it as quite light. I'm not going to tell you what I give it on the nose or the mouth or the finish. So next up we have a rather eloquently described 13-year-old Glenburgie, cask strength 55.2%, Caribbean style mango habanero hot sauce, SMWS 71.95. So 13-year-old Glenburgie from the Society, distilled on the 7th of December 2009 and bottled in 2022. Immediately it's much lighter. This one has matured, full maturation in an ex-bourbon barrel, and it's one of 231 bottles. And I think it comes in the fresh and fruity category. So let's see. You can see that's considerably lighter than the 10-year-old from Gordon Macphail. The sherry obviously influencing that one. So this one's roughly about 35% higher ABV. So let's see. And yes, I was looking at the Society's tasting notes for this one. I get their clearly laundered linen on the washing line in a garden with freshly mown lawn adjacent to a pine forest. But also, I think it's got cakiness, croissants, buttercream, and hazelnuts, nutty Nutella, and cafe au lait, or cafe a latte, yeah, and cut apples and pears. And I get the whiffs of the newly cut grass and hay. And the fruit is between oranges and apples. It's very fruity, and it's easy, and it's fresh. Apple skins, mangoes, barley. It's a really nice cleanliness on this nose. Let's see them all. And it's lots of juicy fruits. Mango, apricot, and pears, but there's a sprinkling of white pepper and butter cake or tart tatin. It's easy and it's very, very good. Pears, lovely juicy pears, and apple peelings, and a little bit of bubble gum. And there's a sort of herbal liqueurness in there, plants and fruits. And a sort of sherbets with a little maple syrup and vanilla cream and some butterscotch. Blood oranges, mangoes, passion fruits, and some light honey. Very nice, very nice. And I know what they mean when they say Caribbean style mango habanero hot sauce. It's long, they finish half fruity, half grassy, and it's supremely topical. Very nice. If you like fruity whiskey, this is one to consider. I added 5 drops there. 5 drops of water. Let's see. Oh, there's a definite mist starting to form there. Of course, all the society's non-coloured and natural, non-chill filtered and natural colour. And the fruit ramps up. Fresh pineapple chunks, sliced red apples, and candied rhubarb. And also a hot buttered croissant with biscotti. There's a bit of paraffin in there in the background with water. Try them out. Touch of Earl Grey, vanilla, and that's a roasted hazelnut panna cotta, and strawberries, and you get a touch of lime. With water, it's a tad fruitier and grassier. The fruit's more on zest, peach peels. It gets a little more vegetal. Some notes of marmalade and spices. It becomes beautifully chalky with water. It's like banana peel. And the finish is medium short. Skins and peelings, mangoes, kiwis, melons. It's a very, very easy drinking whiskey. And it's a good whiskey. Perhaps not the most high-rolling Glenburgie ever, but yeah, it's a good whiskey. So I'm going to cleanse my palate with my graham cracker. So in my tasting book in this one, I'm going to take light, fresh fruit, a bit of vanilla, nuts and spice. And we'll move on to the third and final dram for tonight. This one is another Society bottling, and it's one that they bottled before. The distillery code is 71, so that tells us it's this is 71.82. So 71 tells us the distillery code, and 82 is the number of casks they bottled or bottlings they've had for that distillery. So this is the 82nd time that they bottled Glenburgie. And this time they called this one a Dramming on a Spacehopper. And this one is a 14-year-old cask strength Glenburgie. This one doesn't have the purple code, it has a sort of light blue code, which I can't remember. They have a sort of categorizations: PT, very PT, mellow and fruity, old and dignified, and so on. I can't remember which that one is. It's probably fruity and spicy, but anyway, it's a 14-year-old cask strength Glenburgie from the Society, distilled on the 5th of April 2007. It spent 14 years in a first spill ex-bourbon barrel before being bottled in 2021 and produced 220 bottles. So this one again is quite pale in colour compared to the Gordon Macphail sherry cask matured whisky, and it has quite thin tears, very thin tears. And on this one, I get sort of these foamy banana sweets and pear drops and coconut cake and American cream ice cream soda, and you get vanilla custard tarts and orchard fruits and honey. On the nose it's luscious, sweet and enticing, and it's a very sweet nose for the ABV. Green banana cream, pear cream, vanilla cream, sugar cream, coconut cream, and there's plenty of chocolate quince cake, dark cherry liqueur chocolates, strawberries dipped in chocolate, and Jaffa cakes. It's, in short, it's creamy. Nice and sweet nose, caramel, lots of wood sugar and vanilla, honey, and you get the fruit: peach, nectar, apple compote, and banana, and some coconut biscuits. We'll try the mouth. It's pleasing, it's simple, condensed milk, banoffee pie, and then you get some white pepper, spiced mead, and pumpkin seed oil. It's quite oily. There's quite a lot of power to it. Quite aromatically intense. More spices: pepper and nutmeg, Mexican chipotle chili, vanilla, and you get that bourbon whiskey made into a sort of deep, delicious syrup, which has been served over pancakes and blackberry fruit ice cream. And pears and apples, lots of sweetness and honey and chocolate. And the alcohol is very pleasant, but it remains beautifully fruity, like a typical Speyside bourbon cask matured. Nice bright fruits and candy floss. And it finishes on green banana skin, some tropical fruit skins, with slightly sour and slightly peppery vanilla. I'm going to try 5 drops of water in this. On this one, I think you can probably see the Scotch mist starting to come in there a bit. And now I'm getting marshmallow, juniper, nettles, firwood, lychees, and a sort of candied grapefruit peel, and sort of sappy pine needles. You know, you sometimes rub against a pine tree and there's a sort of oozing out of the sap. It's a bit like that. And you get cinnamon and nutmeg. And to get prune and armagnac. And then the sweetness decreases and the fruits become clearer. The woody aromas increase. Apple compote with cinnamon. We'll try the mouth with water. And I get some mango juice, heather flowers, boiled gorse. I once made gorse ice cream. Be careful not to mix it up with broom flour. You get petals and you sort of heat them up with the cream. You wash them first, of course. You pick the gorse flowers, mix them up with the cream, and then you do your stuff to make your ice cream. And it has a very subtle, almost coconutty taste. I get that sort of wild gorse on the palate here. Rose petals, dried papaya, lime cordial, roses, lime cordial, and fennel seed. And I think the addition of water makes it a little less complex, but more enjoyable. It's like the darker fruit gums, the reds, the blackcurrant fruit gums, and a sort of mug of winter spice hot Ribena, and a sort of dark chocolate key lime truffles. And it's more extroverted with water, fruit, spice, and caramel. And the finish is overripe mango with a spice, fruity, slightly tingling, some green peel, and it's actually very delicious. This is a classic space cider from the Expert Borough, fruity and sweet, and it delivers its simple character very well, and I really like it. This one I have no faults with. It's simple but very good aromas, drinkable, and it's quite delicious. Uh, I think the cask on this one is nice and active, and it brings the malt forward well. So, Glenburgie, these 3 whiskies. I've not tasted a ton of Glenburgie because it's not widely available. Uh, I think I've got a Duncan Taylor sherry cask matured. I don't know if I've reviewed that one here, but I will be if not. Uh, I think it wasn't a Duncan Taylor. I have had a Duncan Taylor Octave in the past as a part of a tasting set. But you know, Glenburgie is a very good Speyside whiskey, just not readily available. But I tell you, it's worth investigating if you get the chance. And that Gordon Macphail, £32, sherry mature. Okay, it's 40% ABV, but Glenburgie's just not there. So if you can find it, it's worth trying it. Thank you very much for listening.